Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to have a little chat about one of the most hotly anticipated 1v1s in Warhammer 40k currently, anyway, and that is Abaddon versus Guilliman. Now, there's been a load of chatter about this recently, and for good reason. Abaddon is coming back. We know he's coming back. He's on his way. He is getting a brand new fancy model, which looks like it's going to be absolutely gigantic, which it should be. It's Abaddon. He is the War Master. He has the Talon of Horus. He has... I'd looked this up earlier, and now I've forgotten how to pronounce it again. Dratnien? That's close enough. The sword with a demon in it, you know. He's an absolute powerhouse of a being. He is essentially the one person capable of bringing not all of chaos, but a significant chunk of chaos together to go and royally fuck up the Imperium shit. He is not to be trifled with. And in terms of just one-on-one ability, in terms of equal power level, so to speak, there's not really anyone in the Imperium that can match him. Yes, Primanius Calgar is now a big, beefy boy, an even bigger, beefier boy than he was before, because he is now Primanius Calgar. He's had the Primaris treatment. Great. He still can't stand up to Abaddon. He would still get absolutely annihilated pretty much instantly. Abaddon is on a different level. And so when you look at what the Imperium has to offer in terms of going forth and stopping Abaddon in his tracks, there's only really one person that makes any sense to have him go up against. Because there's only one person who would feasibly come out of that fight with, you know, more than one limb. And that's Guilliman. The thing is, and this is where I'm almost kind of a bit wary as to how things progress with Vigilus. That could be really quite anticlimactic. See, the thing with Vigilus is that it's all built up towards this. It's built up to the return of the War Master. It's built up to the return of Abaddon. As soon as Harkon Worldclaimer landed, stuck his spear in the floor and said, "This world will be the Black Legion's in 80 days. I claim it in the name of the War Master," so on and so forth. That basically started the countdown to, okay, something significant is going to happen in 80 days. Awesome. I like that. It's a nice way of doing it. And of course, Harkon Worldclaimer was never going to succeed, because that would be, again, massively anticlimactic. If he arrived and just went, "Oh yeah, it's mine now. Yeah, there you go. Cheers, done." That's not a great story, and that is not a great conflict, is it? Let's be honest. Vigilus is like the staging ground for a vast array of new, I'm going to say new everything. New units, new battles, new boxes, new campaigns, new everything. Vigilus has become the centre of a gigantic war within a gigantic war. You can't just have someone show up and immediately turn the tide and claim the planet, which is what Harkon Worldclaimer was there to do. So, of course, he's going to have to fail. He's going to have to be beaten fairly soundly, I think. He won't die, obviously, because he's a new character and they're not just going to kill him off immediately. But he needs to fail so that Abaddon can come to Vigilus and say, "Alright, you have fucked this up, it's time for me to fix it." Which, again, I quite like. As a method of getting Abaddon back into the wider scope of things, as a way of giving him a target, giving him an objective, and then just throwing him at it, Vigilus is quite a good place to do it. They've, I think, set up that planet pretty well. Of course, if he shows up, he should, feasibly, be able to just walk around and murder literally everybody. And so you need to have someone to go up against him. And the person that makes the most sense is, of course, Guilliman. I'm not debating that at all. There's a lot of excitement around this. I know there is. I've seen God knows how many people talking about it, and a bunch of people talking to me on Twitter about it, like, what do you think will happen? The problem is that it's being approached from the standpoint of what an amazing fight this is going to be. And without wishing to be that person that just shows up and kind of ruins the fun, it's not going to be an amazing fight. Because neither of them are going to get hurt. See, this is the thing. This is the problem where it becomes anticlimactic, because if you have two big characters like Guilliman, like Abaddon, show up and throw down, there needs to be some route of escape. There needs to be some way for both of them to come out, not just alive, but in a position to keep on fighting. They're not going to take Guilliman away from the Imperium. He's like the one thing holding it together at this point. He's essentially the leader of the Imperium. He has to be there. They've set it up so that the Imperium is on the very brink of collapse, and the glue that holds that place together is currently Guilliman. You take away Guilliman, you have him, for instance, killed or injured so severely by Abaddon that he's placed into stasis, and the Imperium's position becomes untenable because it has lost its master strategist, it has lost the person who has brought a bunch of reinforcements to them. It's essentially stalled the current storyline, and unless another Primarch suddenly shows up to take over immediately, it will go from, oh, the Imperium is in deep shit, to, oh, the Imperium should have collapsed like 5 years ago, but for some reason it's still fine without him. Can't put it in that position. It's got to keep going, and it needs Guilliman to do so. You also can't bring Abaddon back with a fancy new model that looks like he's going to be about the same size as Guilliman, and then just kill him off. Why would you do that? You wouldn't do that, would you? You would have to be kind of mad to do that. Here is the leader of the Black Legion. He is the War Master, the Despoiler. He has the Talon of Horus. He has Drachnia. He's an absolute power. Oh, he's dead. He's gone. Oh, sorry about that. I mean, we released a new model for him, though, so that's something. They're not going to do that, are they? They're going to have him be abroad messing stuff up. I mean, the whole storyline that's led up to this point, everything from Gathering Storm up until now, has been essentially, to some degree, the work of Abaddon. He brought another Black Crusade into the Imperium and annihilated Cadia. He's not going to fall. He's not going to die, and he's not going to be put in stasis, because just as Guilliman is currently the driving force behind the Imperium, effectively, Abaddon is the driving force behind Chaos at the moment. Yes, I know Magnus is still around, and I know that Mortarion is still around, and Mortarion has been doing some interesting things in facking around with Guilliman's little empire that he's got, but he's not in the same position as the War Master. He is commanding the Death Guard, yeah, or at least the various Vectoriums of the Death Guard, but he can't even get full loyalty from them. I mean, Typhus is still not interested in him. Somehow Abaddon is able to muster enough force for a 13th Black Crusade, annihilate Cadia, and then show up on Vigilus. He is, at this point in the story, more important than Mortarion is. Which sounds kind of weird, but then again, the Demon Primarchs as a whole have just been sitting around on their arses for 10,000 years, doing collectively approximately shit all. I know there's the occasional exception. I know Angron's been a bit busy, but let's face it, the rest of them, not so much. So you can't kill Guilliman, you can't kill Abaddon, you can't make either of them injured enough that they'll be put into stasis, so what will be the result of this heroic battle, this 1v1 bout, this ultimate throwdown between the two best warriors of their respective factions, kind of, sort of, a little bit? Well, it's going to be nothing, and that's the thing that I'm actually a little bit disappointed about, because there's no way to move that forward. There's no way to have one of them win, like, conclusively. You can't have Abaddon outright win against Guilliman, because then Vigilus will fall. You can't have Guilliman outright win against Abaddon, because then Vigilus will be reclaimed. Make no mistake, there are other factions on Vigilus, but let's be honest, it's Chaos and the Imperium that are really the big boys fighting over it. They are the ones with the most to lose. They are the ones with the most to gain by owning or losing Vigilus. And so you have to have these two titans come up against each other if one of them gets there. Except neither of them can actually win. Vigilus is an eternal battleground. It's been set up that way. There are countless planets beyond Vigilus, which I really hope they actually expand out into. I'd prefer to see things break through the cordon and get to the other side of the rift that separates the Imperium. I'd rather see Imperium Nihilus actually get expanded on and actually have more campaigns of things that are filtering through those few safe passages. But for now, Vigilus is the focal point. It's the bit where all the story's happening. It's the bit where all of these different disparate forces are coming together to fight each other over this one single planet. And as such, none of them can really win. And that boils right down to the leaders of these factions as well. Whilst on paper, Guilliman versus Abaddon sounds absolutely amazing, it's not going to be all that, I don't think. And it's not going to be all that because there is no way to have either of them conclusively win. Vigilus is most likely going to remain just a hellscape, just a war-torn, barren wasteland of nightmarish proportions, because it has to be like that. If it falls to chaos, then Imperium Nihilus is in serious trouble, and if the Imperium can just keep it without having any sort of issue with incursions or invasions or attempted, enemies attempting to wrest it from their control, that takes away part of the threat to the Imperium as a whole. So on the one hand, yeah, Guilliman versus Abaddon sounds like it could be badass. It sounds like it could be amazing. So many things could happen. But on the other hand, if it does happen, it's kind of set up from the start to be anticlimactic by necessity, because they can't really do anything else. It's one of the issues when you have, not just in this universe, it's something that applies to all fiction, science fiction, fantasy, whatever. When you have characters as big as that, as involved in the story as that, and as pivotal to the varying factions or the storyline as a whole, as Abaddon and Guilliman, you can only kill one of them if you intend to fully shift gear, if you intend to fully move the story forward, if you intend to take something vast away from one side or the other. And we have had progress in the Warhammer 40k storyline. It took a long time, but we did get there. But it still has that same thing where it needs to be balanced, where it needs to have a constant threat and a constant survival. And it's been placed on such a knife point at this point, with the story progressing even further and the Imperium being in even more disrepair, that in a way the leeway for that has gone even further down than it was before. Before it was a case of Chaos can't win anything because the Imperium will collapse. Now it's like that, but worse. Way worse. Cadia is gone. Half of the Imperium is locked behind the Great Rift. Imperium Nihilus is essentially cut off. It's not having a good time. And Vigilus is centre to all of that. And these two characters are centre to all of that as well. So, what do you do? To be honest, I'm going to be interested to see what they do with it. Because if Abaddon just shows up and starts wrecking shop and Guilliman doesn't turn up, they're going to have a really good reason for him to not succeed. If Guilliman does turn up and they have a fight, they need a really good reason for Vigilus to either stay, because whoever wins should probably win the planet, let's be honest. What are they going to do? I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, not so much because it's going to be like, oh yeah, the showdown we've always wanted. I want to know how they handle it. I want to see how they go from here. If they actually do put them up against each other, and if they do, how they resolve that conflict without everything else, by necessity, kind of falling apart around them. Anyway, people have been talking about that a lot. People keep asking about it, so there you go. Let me know what you think. Do you reckon one of them could die? Probably not, let's be honest. Do you think one of them will definitely win? Would they risk having Nihilus actually fall? Would they risk Nihilus being taken over, actually cleansed by the Imperium and remaining a loyal planet? I don't know which way it could go, because I don't know what they can do to further things without furthering things at this point, if that makes sense. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, video, Patreon, subscribe, all of that shit. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.